Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about signs an avoidant loves you. This is very important because a lot of times you'll be in a relationship with an avoidant and you feel like they love you and you're kind of confused as to why maybe the relationship doesn't look like other people's relationships, right? Maybe your friend is, maybe his girlfriend loves him and they act very secure. They're going out all these places. They're talking about getting married. And you, maybe your girlfriend and you, she's avoidant. You think she loves you, but you're thinking to yourself, why doesn't it look like my buddy's relationship, right? And that can be really confusing. But the reality is because they're an avoidant, right? Flip side, maybe you and your girlfriends, let's say you're a woman, and your best friend, she's getting married, and they've been together for 2 years, and you and your avoidant have been together for 3 years, and you're thinking, we don't even talk about marriage that much. What's going on? Avoidants are much slower. But I think that because of that difficulty and that comparison, which is normal, everybody does it, can make you feel like you're not loved, and that can trigger you to think you're not loved, no one cares about you, you're not being cared for, and then you actually almost cheat yourself out of a relationship with someone who actually really does love you. And so I'd like to talk about that today. And if you are struggling with a relationship dynamic with an avoidant, I completely understand. I have seen a lot of dynamics, you guys know, because a lot of you have booked calls with me. But if you want to book a call with me, that is pinned in the comments, okay? And so the first one is that they are less guarded around you. And this is actually a comparison, but it's a comparison from a couple different angles. First, they're less guarded around you compared to how they are with other people. And this one is tricky because some, especially fearful avoidance, actually depends. Actually, I would say it's more common with male fearful avoidance because female fearful avoidance just won't fit. But a lot of male fearful avoidance and then some female dismissive avoidance. So hopefully you can pick up what I'm saying. I know it's a little confusing. What they do is around other people, they can be pretty charismatic. Some male dismissive avoidance, but not really. They can come across pretty charismatic, pretty talkative, and like really comfortable with certain things, right? So they look like they're not guarded, but actually they're just wearing a mask around other people and they don't show any vulnerability. But around you, they might show vulnerability, but that might mean they act a little more triggered. So you might think they're actually less guarded around other people, but actually they're less guarded around you because they're showing you their flaws. So I hope that made sense. And then the other case of this, and usually it's both, is they're less guarded around you than they used to be. So when you met them, they may have had that mask on a little bit more, and now they don't. They're showing you their flaws, their truth, their emotions. And so you might realize that in actuality, the triggers and all the negative things that you're seeing in this relationship is just a sign that their guard is down and that they do love you and that there is emotions between both of you. It's difficult. This is the most tricky one because this is the most, honestly, most avoidants have some version of this. And it's the hardest one because it's the opposite of how secure and anxious people act. And so you might be kind of confused, but avoidant attachment style is unfortunately common. Fearful avoidant is the least common because it has a lot of abuse. But I will say this, a lot of fearful avoidant, some of them are so traumatized that you might not get a perfect number because sadly, a lot of people who are very abused, who avoid relationships and they have a lot of abusive relationships, maybe they are abusive, etc. I'm not saying all of them. They typically have fearful avoidant attachment style. And so those won't show up typically when we're assessing a number of the population, but it's just an assessment and an estimate because a lot of these people they're not comfortable trusting like anyone, let alone trusting like researchers to, collect numbers of how often they're here. So fearful avoidance, it's the most tricky to track because of that. But there's fearful avoidance, then dismissive avoidance, and there's secure individuals and anxious preoccupied. And so because there are two types of avoidance, they actually are more prominent in that sense in the dating pool because secure people tend to get in relationships with each other more quickly and they tend to stay with each other. And so dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance are pretty common in the dating pool. So you might be curious as to why you continuously attract them. They're just more common typically in the dating pool from my perspective, okay? The next one is they become more affectionate with you. Now, every avoidant is different with how they show affection, but typically it's going to be classical affection, just it might be a little bit more adjusted. So they might kiss you. Some of them might not be comfortable with kissing right away. So they might only do it in the bedroom or they might kiss you on the cheek more commonly than in the lips. They might hold your hand. Sometimes they might not like it. but you'll see it's more affectionate than how they used to be. And so the affection has also changed a little bit. I've had some calls with you guys where you have mentioned, like before, it was a lot more physical, like in the bedroom, but it was never any affection outside of the bedroom. But now maybe the bedroom intimacy has decreased even a little bit, even though you still are having intimacy. But the affection outside of the bedroom has increased much more, and it's much more romantic in the bedroom as well. You guys have mentioned this, especially the ones that I've, seen more continuously. We've kind of worked on that, and we see that there's more affection. And that's an example of them actually falling in love, not just seeing you as someone that they're kind of getting used to, kind of getting comfortable with, but someone they actually trust and they actually love. The next one is they're less rigid. They're less rigid about their schedules. They're more open about certain things. They're more flexible about certain things that at first they thought was like a rule or a law. So maybe it's like before they wouldn't text you after a certain time, but now they're a little bit more flexible. Sometimes even, which not every case will feel like this, but I've had calls with you guys where sometimes even they will forget that they had a rigid like rule with you at first. They might say, I don't remember ever saying that. And you will be like, what are you talking about? For 2 years, you always told me you don't like talking about this, or you don't want me to text you at this certain time. And they'll be like, oh, don't think about that. Don't hold that against me. Just forget about it. You don't need to worry about that. And for you, it might be like a complete black and white switch. Like, what just happened? For 2 years, I've been avoiding not texting you during your work hours or lunch breaks. And now you're telling me it's completely fine. And for you, it might be like a whiplash, very confusing. And a lot of you guys report this with the calls that I've had with you guys, but it's true. And so this is a sign that they love you. The next one is they are more playful with you. Much more common with male avoidance. Female avoidance, it does happen, but I see it less often. Female avoidance among all the avoidants are the least emotional, interesting enough. They're I wouldn't say the least emotional, because they can be, but they're the most guarded. They look dismissive avoidance. They don't show emotions as much. And so the playfulness might not show up simply because of that, but it doesn't mean they don't love you. I just want to keep in mind, if you have all of these things and your partner is a female avoidant, but she's not playful, it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. It's just sometimes that's the way they characterize themselves. With male avoidance, a lot of times they might show that playfulness. And the reason why is because men often feel like they're the ones that has to cheer you up, or be the one who calls the shots. And so he might be playful to kind of show you it's okay, this is fine, let's be happy, kind of set the mood. And so that's why female avoidants don't do that. The next one is better understanding your triggers. So if you're triggered by something and she or he starts being more mindful of that, this is a sign that they love you. The next one is they're actually more patient with you. Male avoidants particularly struggle with anger and they're impatient. And so if you're noticing that they're being a little more patient with you, this is a sign that they love you. The last one is they actually admit that they trust you more than they used to. If they don't admit it right away, you can just ask. And this is for both male and female avoidance, okay? And so let's go ahead and summarize and we'll wrap it up. They're less guarded, they're more affectionate, they're less rigid, they're more playful, more common with male avoidance. They understand your triggers better, they're more patient with you, and they actually admit that they trust you more than they used to. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.